Elizabeth. My co-host Vince is not here today, but I will be interviewing Adam Bensman from The Roof Strategist, or The Roof Strategist. So, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person.
Yeah, overdue.
Yes, right. I've had the chance to see some of your videos on YouTube. So, let's kick right off. Tell me, how did you start The Roof Strategist?
Oh, man. I'll give you the really fast version. I was doing door-to-door sales. I fell into the industry after being a broke massage therapist, following my passion. And
Wow.
then I was earning under $20,000 a year, literally below the poverty line. And I was living on $4.20 a day in groceries, which is a very specific number to know. But it's true. You know, I had to budget for the olive oil, the big expenses. I didn't go out to eat. And then I needed to make a change. I had an opportunity to visit family on Easter. It was 2 hours away. I couldn't afford gas. Fall into the roofing industry as a way to say, I got to make a change. I heard about the opportunity from my stepdad, jumped in, changed my life. 8 months later, exceeded my income goal by 50%. Made my first 6 figures, worked my way up to chief operating officer of the company.
What was your
states.
stepdad doing that he told you about roofing?
Yeah, thank you for asking. No one ever asked that part, which is funny. He was in Stone Coated Steel, so he helped. He worked to create a sales process for Stone Coated Steel for numerous companies. I never knew anything about it because by the time he told me about the industry opportunity, he was out of it. And he's just like, hey, you can make 6 figures selling roofs. I'm like, what? No, you can't.
So he started with Stone Coated Steel when?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know the year.
Dang, that's
he
a
was
cool
in it
story.
a while, and then he moved on from it, and he knew that I was in desperate financial times. Like, what are you going to do when you have a psychology degree, no experience on anything other than massage therapy, and you're starving? You know, you don't go find a traditional job somewhere.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
So I came into it, had some success. Worked my way up to chief operating officer of this company, and then wanted to come on this side and fast forward, just realized that my passion isn't roofs. I don't care about roofs. I care about the opportunity that this industry presents to people, and that anyone from any walk of life with any background, it's truly a level playing field
100%.
to use this industry to transform your life, and so many people don't make it that could have, and they just didn't have the resources, the training, the information to do it, and that's what led to the Roof Strategist channel.
So let's backtrack for a second. When you're just getting started in the roofing industry, right? You're still a sales rep.
Yep.
Because part of all of us is we have a path to evolve, right?
Oh, yeah.
To live up to our own potential. Let's talk about some of those growing pains that you experienced and how you were able to personally develop yourself to become the roof strategist, because you don't go from broke massage therapist to the roof strategist overnight.
No, you don't. You know, you're asking, like, you're going in a direction that most interviewers don't, and I love that. So the personal side, I'm glad you brought it up, because I believe that roofing sales is a success formula. It's 3 things: the be, the do, the say. Getting the right person, doing the right sales activities.
The do,
and the say. Yeah. Getting the right person, doing the right sales activities every day, and saying the right thing. So I evolved through that formula with a series of very severe obstacles. So the B is the personal development, right? Like, someone who's earning under $20,000 a year is not the same person that's capable of being a 6-figure, multi-6-figure, or higher earner. And first was changing my mindset of being worthy of earning that type of income.
So what was the first limiting belief you had to change?
That I was worthy of it, that I could do it, and that it was okay, because there's a lot of stigma around wealth, that people that are wealthy are bad people, that they're greedy people, and that I wanted to shift. I needed a shift.
So it was going from the broke mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because broke that's not necessarily just related to money.
Mm-hmm.
Broke means someone who thinks in scarcity.
Yeah.
To switching to abundance.
Absolutely. And so many people have this pride with being broke. It is, when I'm around people who are miserable, misery loves company.
Yeah.
And they just love to talk about, I could never afford that. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great to change? One day I'd like to. One day I'm capable of. I'm worthy of experiencing a really nice meal. I'm worthy of going out to eat and not having to look at the bill.
Did you have to change a lot of your own language as you were changing that?
Absolutely. Brian Tracy's book, Goals. I've always butchered the subtitle. I think it's like How to Achieve Everything in Life Faster Than You Ever Dreamed Possible. First book I ever read, cover to cover, flagged every single exercise in there, did them, wrote my goals, wrote what I wanted to find in my wife, worked. Literally, I met her 8 months later. We've been married for 7 years, been together for 10. I wrote down, thank you, my income goal, that I wanted to sell a commercial property, that I wanted to buy a house with some land, I wanted to buy a truck, I wanted an ATV for a toy. Like, all these things, which, by the way, I'm very aware at this point in my life was
out of your reach.
Out of my reach, and also material goods. But when you're broke, that's the status thing, right? That's like, I can do it.
Well, there's something to be said for just the action of sitting down and writing what you want your dream life to look like. So I think people do not value the mapping and the planning of their dream life enough, because it's not so much about the physical and the material things that you get. It's the person that you become in the process of attaining them.
Exactly. It's the game, the path. When I say get onto the roofing sales game, I always say that roofing sales is personal development in disguise. So we gamify how we engage in our communications, how we engage in our skill sets, how we engage in our day-to-day activities and our habits. And then the reward is the things that you are doing this for. And so that's the fun, it's the journey. The rewards, by the way, stop being, you got to go bigger. Like, I look at this differently now, but it was so fun. And that was the first big breakthrough, in addition to also realizing that I was the last person on earth that should have been falling into door-to-door sales. I was sensitive, I was a people pleaser. You know, I still probably fall into that. People that like do the typology thing, I know his type. I like to make people feel good. And I know in door-to-door sales, you don't make people feel good all the time. Some people hate you, get yelled at.
Uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
let's actually fast forward a little bit now to you're getting more to your potential, right? One of the biggest things in life for myself and that I like to see in other people is the development of their own potential. Now that you're with the roof strategist, you're growing your team, I just heard you say one of my favorite things I've ever said, and I literally said I'm going to use this as an excuse. I'm going through some growing pains right now, so my schedule's a little challenged. I'm going through that as well. I feel like we're maybe on a similar path of life. We're getting into our potential in the industry. How do you feel is your next level of potential, right? Getting to the roof strategist was maybe just level 1, right? Looking now, you might think, oh, wow, I'm so far ahead than where I used to be. But I think you're just scratching the surface. Where do you see your potential going forward?
I'm so glad you said that. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface too. I feel like I just dipped my toe in the water. The big thing for me is time. And, you know, on the way here, this is
the most valuable asset we all have.
And I love what Eric Thomas said. He goes, they print money, they don't print time.
Absolutely.
And then on the drive in, I listened to a podcast by Cole Hatter, and I listened to a podcast by Jesse Itzler. And all of these very successful people talk about time. And Dan Kennedy, one of my favorite direct response copywriters to follow, his office is clocks everywhere. It's one of the reasons I started wearing a watch, not a digital watch, a watch.
Yeah.
Why? To keep track of this stuff. And I
live by my calendar.
I do too. That is my wife and I, dinner dates, everything is on Google Calendar. And everything's on the calendar. But to get to that next level is really being hyper conscious and vigilant of time, how it's used, and using it to its maximum. And it doesn't always mean rushing things, because sometimes using it to your maximum could be for me at least, the sleeping in the morning, I want a break and I'm going to lay on the couch and recharge and read a book.
Yeah.
But it also could be, I'm here for 2 hours, I'm going to get the most of it. Can I get this interview in? Can I go do the next thing? Like being efficient and vigilant.
I'm so glad that you made time to come here. Random question. I'm obviously, like you can tell, I'm just myself.
Yeah.
So I noticed your tattoo on your right hand. Kind of relating towards yours. So my first tattoo I ever got was the word focus, right?
Oh, I
Everyone
love that.
was like, Elizabeth, you're crazy. Why would you do that? You've ruined your body. Like, it was dramatic. And then I got faith.
Oh, look at that. And I got this one on both wrists.
Yeah. So I noticed that. Tell me a little bit about yours. What do they mean?
Yeah, so the symbol.
And it's important. For anyone who doesn't have tattoos, if you tattoo something like on your wrist, it means it's pretty something important that you want to be conscious and aware of.
Agreed. And these are the only tattoos I have.
I know.
No one has once asked me this, by the way. So this is the first time this is being aired out. I was very close with my family. I didn't want to leave where I grew up. My family was everything. So when I moved away at age 18 and I moved into an apartment by myself, it was a hard time. And my mother had gifted me my birthstone, which is an amethyst, on a pendant, and the pendant had this symbol, which is an ohm. The ohm is not why I got it, it was a symbol. And as I was going through, this was a really challenging time in my life, because I struggled, also never shared this publicly, I struggled very deeply with anxiety as a child, very deeply.
I struggle with anxiety currently.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and a lot of people who are high performers struggle with it. So the connection of family was like safety and security, and I was like, wow, this is super hard. So I got it tattooed. I carried that pennant with me everywhere. This was my connection to my mother, my family, and that I could get through anything. And I would find myself like, oh, I don't have it on me. And it was just like something to feel, a symbol.
Yeah. It
So
was that security, bring you down to earth, calm your nerves, peace.
Exactly,
Peace.
a grounding place to connect to. So I first got it tattooed on my left wrist.
Oh.
And why? Because you said when someone puts it on your wrist, it's to see it every day.
Yeah.
And I got it on this wrist, and then about 5 years later, I've been thinking that I finally had broken through that crippling anxiety that I experienced as a kid, which I had such severe anxiety that I did not sleep out of the house for the very first time until I was over 10 years old, probably. And when that whole experience came full circle, and I felt like I had grown through it, I wanted it on this wrist in the other direction to symbolize that completion. So
that's amazing.
I've never shared any of that anywhere.
Hey guys, got the behind the scenes here.
Yeah, I love that.
The reason why I like to find more deep answers from people is because at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yeah.
And sharing these, and even the statement that you said, I'm going through growing pains, it humanizes us. And at the end of the day, we're all here on the same journey to live up to our own potentials.
Yeah.
Whatever that version looks like for each of us, our job as leaders now, in a way that we can impact more people, is to help people identify that. And that's why I love the movement, the Roof Strategist, because everything he said is right. If you're looking for an opportunity to change your life, the roofing industry as a whole is a great opportunity for you to develop yourself as a person, work on your communication skills, learn how to sell a high-ticket item. And one of the reasons I don't use the word free is because if I'm giving you something for free, I typically need your time.
Yeah.
So that's a very hefty exchange, in my opinion. If you want 15 minutes of my time for free, you better have something.
Nothing in life is free.
There's nothing free.
I provide free training, but it's not free. You're investing your time to watch it.
Yeah.
And
it's costing you your time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, in your time, they're choosing to spend their time watching this video or any one of your videos. So what is your kind of last tip, right? I loved hearing your story.
Sure.
I bet we could talk for much longer about it. But the evolution, right? Through anxiety as a child, growing up, everything you had to do to go from massage therapist, the person you had to become while working in roofing sales, now to having the Roof Strategist. What is the biggest takeaway, someone on the other end of the screen, that could be in the beginning of their journey that you would recommend for them?
The biggest thing that I would say is to get absolutely crystal clear about what it is that you're after, why it's important, and then why that's important. And example, so many people, you'll say, hey, how much do you want to earn? And they'll be like, well, I want to make my first 6 figures. And it's always 100,000 or 200,000.
Yeah.
And then I follow it up with why. And then people go blank. And I say, well, I'll tell you what, when you've made 75,000 in a year, for most people, depending on living expenses, that's enough money to live on. Your bills are paid.
Yeah.
You're going to face some really crappy stuff in the roofing industry. You're going to have a really bad day one day, or 2 days, or for a week. That's not going to carry you through. Why do you want that 100 grand?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to be able to pay off my debt and buy my house. Why? So I can provide for my kids, for my family. Why? So they can grow up better than me. Why? Because I want to be able to set them up with a college fund to succeed and have opportunities that weren't available. Now we're on to something. So having that clear vision, and also realizing that if you're freaked out and uncomfortable between where you are and where it is, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that means you're stretching.
Yeah.
And every big push that I've made went from literally poverty level to my first 6 figures. My goal was 100,000, it was in 2011, and I had generated 140, which was like, wow, what do I, like, that's insane. I was making like $1,700 a month or $1,600 a month.
Yeah.
And then from there, when I even started this brand, I wrote down what I wanted it to be. I never in a million years thought I'd be holding this microphone talking to you. I didn't think anyone would know me. I really didn't. And I wrote down, I want to become this for the industry to make a huge impact on salespeople's lives. And then it happened, and I was like, wow. So now I'm like, well, if I did that, now what can we do? So that's why I'm setting my sights even higher. My first year at 100,000 of an income goal in 2011, from 19,000 a year, it didn't even feel, like I literally wrote it down and I'm like, this is a pipe dream. Like, it'd be great if I could get close. And then 8 months in, I generated 140. And again, forget the number. I know guys that have done way more than me. It's not about it. It's about.
I know sometimes when people tell you a bigger goal than, or at a bigger goal than what you are at, it sometimes makes us feel smaller. But it's not about the money. It's about the journey
and the transformation. And it's also, for everyone that hasn't read it yet, pick up the book today called The Gap in the Gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. It was written for Dave Sullivan. About measuring your success based on what you've accomplished, not the gap between where you are and where you envision yourself. Because we often, especially with social media, we're looking at interviews, and that's why I said before, I love, Elizabeth, that this is the first time on an interview that I've actually felt vulnerable. Like you shared this story, I'm like, wow, never actually openly talked about crippling anxiety. I've never shared with anyone that I didn't sleep out of the house until I was like
it really
over 10
happens
years old.
to all of us. Like at the end of the day, who we are, our success, who we become, that's all part of our journey and our story. And if we don't feel comfortable with that, we can never get to that next level. So maybe this is a conversation that's going to help you get to your next level, because acceptance, moving on, and learning. And then share. Share.
And only measure yourself against yourself. You can't go on the internet and be like, well, that guy's got a new truck, and that guy did 5 million, and that guy did this. Who cares? All that matters is what you did yesterday, what you did right today in this moment, and then looking back at the end of each day like, yeah, I did it. I'm on track.
So my last tip for everyone to kind of put some of this all this stuff that we just spoke about into an actionable item. Figure out who you are now. Where did you come from, right? Sometimes even before asking yourself the why of where you want to go, write out where you actually come from. Where were you born? What did you grow up like? How is that in comparison to the middle class, average family? What made you different, right? What impacted you in life? And then from there, that usually is what fuels your why to the next level. So it's a pleasure having Adam here on the OnlyRoofers podcast. We thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next OnlyRoofers. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks for having me here.